my name is Natalie. Welcome to my tiny house here in Central Oregon. My tiny house was built by Teacup Tiny Homes out of Alberta, Canada. She is 34 feet long, 8.5 feet wide, 13.5 feet tall, and I have lived in her for almost a year. I am parked here at an RV park in Central Oregon. My rent fluctuates depending on the season between about $720 during the slow winter season up to $2,200 in the summer months. I love this location and all of my utilities are included with the exception of my propane, which I have a propane contract with a local company. And I just got my own Wi-Fi here. The park has Wi-Fi that's included, but I wanted my own just for more security and to beef up the speed of the internet. But trash and recycling is also included. Here on the exterior of my home, one of my favorite things, I call it the headband, the cedar band that goes around the top. That is required for when you have vertical siding on a tiny home that's going down the road. I had put some cedar, as you can see up there under the bathroom overhang, and I wanted more cedar on the house. Wasn't planned, but it ties in with the nice planter boxes here at the park, which every lot has. I really love the lot. We've got some turf and we've got the cement walkway. I brought my patio chair with me from my previous home, and it's just a really nice spot to hang out during the warmer months and enjoy meeting neighbors and talking about the house, because it's definitely a topic of conversation when people see it. Come check out the inside of my tiny house. Welcome to my tiny home. She is roughly 420 square feet, including both lofts. And one of the things that I really love about it is there are 15 windows in this home, including the front door. And I have windows on every wall of the house, which is great for letting in all the natural light. So here in the entryway is the coat closet, which is not something I originally wanted in my tiny home, but my builder, being in Canada, they knew what I would need for being in a cold climate like I am here in Oregon. And so it's really great to have it here in the front entryway. Also here by the front door, there's a really nice amount of storage. Here I've got some great shelves. I did add a kind of pull-out piece of wood here so I can get to the items that are in the back, because these shelves are really deep. So great for storage, but sometimes hard to grab things. I really love the style and the look of this kitchen. Some of my favorite features are the pull-out trash and recycling, which is tucked away in this cabinet. And I also love the full pull-out pantry, which houses a lot of goodies. The other thing I really love is everything's in close quarters. So if I'm doing something here in the sink and I have a piece of trash that I need to throw away, it doesn't take me long to just do this and toss it in the trash. Makes things really easy to just be able to spin and get some things done. I have all of your usual appliances in this kitchen. I have an 18-inch dishwasher, a propane Furrion RV stove and oven, and it is a 3-burner. And this is one of my favorite features. The top has a cover, so you can flip it up to cook. And when you aren't cooking, it's even more counter space, which in a tiny house kitchen is really, really important. Put my microwave over the stove so that I had more counter space free. And then on this side of the kitchen, I have a pretty full-size refrigerator and freezer. We also have the washer and dryer, which I went with a stackable unit. And one of the things I love that Teacup does is they enclose their units with a door, so it's hidden away. And I went with a stackable because I hadn't heard a lot of positives about the combo units. So I knew this was what I wanted to go with. And also the dryer was converted to a propane dryer. And then two of my favorite features in this kitchen. One is the tip-out drawer here by the sink, and there's a similar one in the bathroom as well. I like the tip-out drawer because it's a nice use of space. It gives me a place, again, to tuck things away, which is really important in a tiny house to kind of cut down on clutter. And it fits straws and straw cleaners very easily. And then my favorite feature in the kitchen is the toe kick storage drawers. There's one here, And there's one here, which is where I have cookie sheets, cupcake tins, wrapping paper. Anything you can find for storage in a tiny house is helpful to tuck things away. One of the hard things for me to downsize when I was moving into the tiny house was my mug collection. So I still have quite a few. There are several here, there's several there on the shelf. And this is kind of the essential oil / coffee station where I enjoy a warm beverage on a cold day. So storage is so important in a tiny house that you use every inch of space you can get, including on top of your cabinets. And that leads us to the storage loft, which is the spare loft in the house. It's the smaller of the two lofts. This is a queen size loft, so it could fit a queen size mattress, but right now it can't because half of it is boxes. I downsized quite a bit, but I still have a lot of decor things, Christmas decorations, different seasonal clothing boxes, but also up there is space for family when they come to visit, especially my young nieces. They love to use that loft as like their little tree house, so they've got some decorations up there as well. Really thankful to have that because when you downsize from 1,250 square feet to roughly 420, there's still a lot that you bring with you that you can't really have out in the main space. So that gives me a place to tuck it away. The ladder is solid wood and it's built really well and I feel really steady when I'm using it. Originally, the ladder was leaned up against the coat closet, which takes up about that much space, and space is important in a tiny house. I just recently started keeping the ladder up in the storage loft. It's fairly easy to lift up there. You just kind of grab the rungs and give it a push, and it just gets it out of the way since I don't have to use it that often. It's been almost a year, and I think the biggest thing for me that I love about living tiny is it just feels like this, like you're just kind of wrapped in this house. It's never felt too small. And I have people who have asked me that. It does feel cluttered sometimes, but it's very quick to unclutter because it's so small. I'm mainly a musician. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Music has been part of my life since I was 3. I'm a violinist and a pianist. Piano is my primary thing. But I do have my bachelor's degree in violin and a master's in music education. So I'm now a music teacher. I've been a music teacher for about 20 years. Also on the side, I do music directing, conducting for theaters. And I've lived all 3 coastlines. Grew up in Pennsylvania, spent the last about 16 years in New Orleans, Louisiana, and moved here to Central Oregon a year ago, November of 2023. I moved to New Orleans for a teaching job. I moved to Central Oregon because I missed snow and I have family in Eugene and really just wanted the colder climate again, and lucked out that I got here and there was a teaching position available at a local private school. I'm in an RV park and it's a little more expensive. I think I get a lot of good services here for the price that I'm paying. But in terms of having been in New Orleans with hurricanes and flood insurance and owning my home with property tax, I'm definitely saving money. I had 3 different insurances on my home in New Orleans, right? I had homeowners, I had wind and hail, and I had flood. Here I have one insurance that covers this home. I don't have to pay property tax because I'm in an RV park. Right now, everything except my propane, I pay for my propane. Everything is covered by the park. It's included in the rent. So up next is the bathroom, and it does have a door here for privacy. This bathroom was not the original plan. Originally, it would have been walled off here. And I believe there was going to be a window here behind the toilet, but I upgraded after I sold my home in New Orleans. And so now we have 3 beautiful windows that let in a lot of natural light. One of the benefits of this upgrade, which my builder calls their bayed bathroom for a bay window, is tons of extra counter space and additional storage. So in the original plan, there would have just been storage here under the sink, which is where the water heater is. But now I have an additional drawer here. I have shelves under here and on the other side as well. And then the countertop wraps the whole way back around the shower. One of the reasons I chose the bathtub was because it was actually cheaper than a shower stall at the time with the original plan. Another design choice I made was to have the house double plumbed. So originally I was planning on a composting toilet. And when I learned, or when I decided that I was going to be here at this RV park that had full hookups, I decided to switch out to a regular flush toilet. The house had already been double plumbed in the design, so it was very easy for my builder to switch out the toilets. And so now I have the flushable toilet. Also here in the bathroom is the control panel for my Lunos HRV, which stands for Heat Recovery Ventilation. There are 2 fans. There's one in each loft of the house, and basically they work together. One will pull air out and collect the heat from that air. And then when they switch and it brings air back in, it will reheat that air so it's the same temperature as what is already in the house. So it's great for air circulation. On this side of the house, we have the one item that I told my builder I absolutely had to have room for, and that is my Peloton bike. Bet you thought you'd never see one of these in a tiny home. I gave up dining room space and initially workspace to make room for it, and it fits perfectly right across from the front door. But then it created a little issue, I guess, of the fender being unused space. And like I've said many times, in a tiny home, you want to use every inch of space you can get. So I got these storage boxes from IKEA, and they're great for shoe storage. And they fit perfectly on the fender, and they are Velcroed to the wall with command Velcro strips. They work great for using dead space and turning it into something functional. So next to the Peloton is the workspace that I created for myself. I realized once I had the bike in here that I had enough room between the bike and the sofa to install a desk. I got a $25 chair from the Habitat Restore, and the desk itself is actually a trifold desk. This front piece can be collapsed down. Then you can also collapse the middle piece as well. I only ever collapse the first piece, and then it's like a nice little short table there. Underneath the desk, there's still some fender space available, so that kind of acts as a shelf where I'm able to store a lot of my desk supplies, and it just creates a nice little office area. So the longer I'm in the tiny house, the more I realize certain things that I want to add. And one of the recent projects was adding these 2 shelves up here above the window. And so far on one of them, I have my collection of Muse's shoes, which is from New Orleans Mardi Gras. We have crews in New Orleans that parade during Mardi Gras, and each crew has a signature throw that they will throw to people off of the floats. And one of the crews, it's an all-female crew called Muse's, and they throw glittery shoes that if you catch one, it's a pretty hot commodity in New Orleans. And I have 7 of them that I've caught over my 16 years there. So they have a special place up on one of the shelves. So continuing on this side of the house is the living room. Lots of wonderful features in this space. I especially love the fireplace, which is also a heater, and you can change the colors of the flames and the crystals in the bottom. It has a great mantle on top of it, which is nice for displaying things, and I think the perfect place to hang a television. I got this storage bench. Originally, it was going to be the chair for the desk, but it's hard to kind of slide back and forth, but it is great for blanket storage and also the perfect ottoman for the sofa. I wasn't searching for this, but ended up getting a sofa that is made here in Oregon, which I think is really cool. And one of the reasons I went with this sofa was because the legs were roughly, I think, 6 inches high, and I was looking for something to be about 9 inches because the back corner actually sits on the fender, and that gets it right up against the wall, which leaves enough walking space here in the front. So to get the 9 inches off the ground, I added some risers under the legs to boost it up. And because of that added height underneath the sofa, I am able to incorporate some rolling bins for additional shoe storage or anything else that needs a place to hide. So I have 2 of those under the sofa. Around the whole house, I have installed cellular blinds on the windows, and these are from Budget Blinds, which I was already familiar with because I had them in my old home in New Orleans and I love them so much. What I love about them is they are light filtering down here on the main level of the home. In my loft upstairs, I did get room darkening, so they black out the light. And I also went with the top down, bottom up feature. So they have a magnet up here at the top, which latches them in. And then if I want to open from the bottom, I can do that as well. So they're a really great feature, especially here across from the TV to cut out the glare. And they're really minimal looking, which I think is great in a tiny house setting. So one of the things that really drew me to my builder was the fact that they put their stairs at the back of the house. I love these storage stairs. On this side, we have some great open shelving. It's really deep, which is amazing for storage. Down at the bottom behind the door is the in-floor furnace, and it does a really great job in the winter. The in-floor part of it means that the ductwork is in the floors. So all of the vents come up from the floor, and then while the heat is running, the floors stay pretty warm in the winter. And that's also has the added benefit of when I skirt the tiny home, it keeps the heat more under the house. Moving on to the center of the stairs, we have double doors here that open. So there is hanging storage and a shelf down as well at the bottom. Also pretty deep. So the stuff that goes in the back is stuff that I don't need that often. And then switching to the other side here is also a set of shelves. And I have baskets in here because they're easier to get to. So I have several back here in the back, and I can just pull them out, push them in as needed. And then the last piece of the stairs is this drawer down here at the bottom, which opens a lot further when this table isn't here. But that is where I house a lot of my workout clothes. So you might have noticed this bumper here. This is here as a result of me poking myself in the side of the leg with the corner of the step too many times. I think I have a permanent bruise. And I get a lot of questions about coming down the stairs and hitting my head on the loft, but I have learned to come down, and when I get down here, I actually turn around and I step down backwards, which avoids hitting my head and also helps me avoid whacking my leg on the corner. Going up the stairs is a large window that wasn't part of the initial plan for this model from my builder, but I asked them if we could add it because I had seen a photo of it in one of their other homes, and I have zero regrets. I love the amount of light it lets in. I love that I can open it, and the airflow through the entire home is amazing as a result of that. So at the top of the stairs is a landing that leads into the main loft. And I've added some cubbies up there to hold linens, bed sheets, things like that. And then in the loft, it's actually a king size loft on this end of the house, which means I could fit a king size mattress up there, but I have a queen and enough room for a little side table. I also have a projection screen that I can open up there, and I have a movie projector if I want to lay in bed and watch a movie, watch TV. And there are also 2 windows up there with the blackout blinds. When I moved to New Orleans in 2007, I knew I wasn't going to live there forever. I grew up in Pennsylvania with the snow, and I loved the 4 seasons and cold especially, and in New Orleans you don't get that a lot. Winter of, I think, 2022, that I decided to take a little weekend away, and I stayed at one of the getaway cabins, which is, if you don't know what they are, they have locations around the country outside a lot of major cities, and it's a very small kind of studio apartment type cabin and very cozy in the woods. I remember, in fact, I still have my journal where I wrote in it, like the first night there, I was like, I wonder if I could live in a space, maybe not that small, but a small cozy space where there's little nooks and crannies I can kind of tuck into and do work, and I can read and just be in a smaller envelope. So I came back and started looking into tiny houses, and I knew about tiny houses because, like most people, like I'd seen Tiny House Nation and all that stuff. Kind of got overwhelmed with the research luckily ran into now a good friend of mine, the tiny house concierge, and I hooked up with her and had a consultation, and she kind of put me on a path of let's do this and let's do this and let me introduce you to some builders. And I said, all right, we're gonna sell the house first, and then I will have the cash to pay for the tiny house, and then I won't have to finance. It was Canadian dollars because Teacup is a Canadian company, so I can't exactly tell you what the exact US dollar is, but it was in the 160s. You know, would I have done things differently if my house in New Orleans hadn't sold over asking? For sure. Like, I didn't have the bathroom in the original plan that I have now. I don't think I had the fireplace like built in the way it is now. I didn't have this window in the initial plans. So when the house in New Orleans sold and I knew I had some extra cash to play with, like, those are things that are all so worthwhile. Working with Teacup was a positive experience. I loved it. One thing that pulled me towards them was the stairs at the back of the house versus along the side wall. And the other thing was the transparency. I knew I could talk to some of their previous clients. They were very upfront about a pay schedule, like I called it the retaining fee that I gave them. And then I didn't have to use them for a year. That retaining fee lasted for a year. I could start the project at any time. And then there was a breakdown of cost after that. So they didn't want more than just this deposit up front. And then every Friday, it was like Christmas every Friday, you would get new photos of your house in the build process. There were various walkthroughs at certain stages, and then there was a final walkthrough at the end where they literally, I think we were probably on the Zoom for an hour or more, and showed me how everything worked. The electric panel, all the hookups outside. So I felt very prepared to receive the house. And then, you know, when the house came, there was also a whole like paperwork and like all the manuals and, you know, everything that I needed to just get in and get it hooked up. The other reason I picked them was because they're in Canada and I knew I was coming to a colder climate because that's what I wanted. So I knew that, you know, they build and they live in a climate that's even colder than here in Central Oregon. And so I knew that they would know what the house needed in terms of like insulation value. And, you know, they put their in-floor furnace that comes in every one of their models. And, you know, so things like that are really good to have. I would say to anybody who's considering it, just, you know, take a chance and visit one and test it out and see. And, because it's really cool. Yeah.
Thank you for watching our video and for stopping by Tiny House Expedition. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Christian. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And for more tiny home tours and stories, click the videos below.
And join us on Instagram for bonus content,
including face-to-face conversations with us. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.